Hyun checked his watch. It was almost midnight. The office building was nearly empty as he packed his tools into his bag. Being a mechanical engineer meant long hours, especially when projects were due. Tonight was no different. I should have left hours ago, he muttered to himself. At 32 years old, Hyun had a routine: work, home, sleep, repeat. After serving in the military for 4 years, he enjoyed his quiet life in Seoul. The busy streets during the day, the calm nights walking home. It was simple, and he liked it that way. Hyun nodded to the night guard as he left the building. The air was cool on his face. The streets were empty except for a few late-night workers like him. He decided to take the shortcut through the park. It would save him 15 minutes, and he was tired. The park was dark. Only a few lamps lit the path. The trees cast long shadows and the wind rustled the leaves. Hyun walked with his hands in his pockets, thinking about tomorrow's work. That's when he saw it. A light in the sky. Too bright to be a star, too steady to be a plane. It was round and glowed with a blue-green color he had never seen before. Hyun stopped walking and stared up at it. "What is that?" he whispered. The light grew bigger. No, not bigger. Closer. It was coming down toward the park. Toward him, Hyun's military training kicked in. He turned to run, but his feet wouldn't move. A beam of light, the same blue-green color, shot down from the strange object and hit him. His whole body froze. He couldn't move. He couldn't even blink. "Help!" He tried to shout, but no sound came out. The light grew brighter around him. His feet lifted off the ground. Slowly, he began to float upward, toward the strange light in the sky. The trees, the park, the city lights. Everything got smaller beneath him. Then, darkness. "The specimen is secured. Chief Researcher Krell." "Good. Is it damaged?" "No, Chief. The stasis field worked perfectly. The human shows no signs of injury." "Excellent. Prepare it for the examination room." The voices were strange, high-pitched and clicking like insects talking. Hyun could hear them, but he couldn't see. His eyes were closed and he couldn't open them. His body felt heavy, like he was underwater. Hyun tried to remember what happened. The park, the light, floating, then nothing. Was he dreaming? No. This felt too real. He tried to move his fingers. Nothing happened. "This one is large for a human," said one of the voices. "Strong muscle development." "Yes, much stronger than our species," said another voice. Krell, he assumed. "That's why the restraints must be secure, though the sedative should keep it unconscious." For several units, Hyun felt himself being moved. His body slid along something smooth and cold. Metal, maybe. He wanted to open his eyes to see who was talking, but his eyelids wouldn't obey. A humming sound filled the air, machines working around him. Hyun concentrated harder. With all his strength, he tried to open his eyes just a little bit. A thin line of light appeared. He could see. What he saw made his heart race. They were not human, not even close. Tall, thin creatures with smooth gray skin. Their heads were large with huge black eyes. 4 long arms moved quickly, working controls on machines Hyun had never seen before. They wore some kind of uniform, a one-piece suit that seemed to glow from within. Aliens. Real aliens. Hyun closed his eyes quickly. Fear filled him, but he forced himself to stay calm. If they knew he was awake, who knows what they would do? Better to pretend, to listen, to learn. "The human's brainwaves are changing," one of the aliens said. "Is it waking up?" "Impossible," said Krell. "The sedative dose was calculated for a being twice this size. Check your equipment." "Yes, Chief." Hyun kept his breathing slow and steady. Don't let them know, he thought. Don't let them know. "Equipment is functioning correctly," said the alien. "Perhaps this specimen has unusual resistance to our compounds." "Interesting," Krell replied. "Make a note in the file. We'll need to adjust the formula for humans. For now, increase the dose by 20%. Hyun felt something cold press against his neck. A soft hiss followed. More sedative, he guessed. He had to fight. It His military training had included resistance to drugs. He focused his mind, trying to keep aware even as the new drug entered his system. "Take the specimen to the storage area," ordered Krell. "Place it with the other Earth samples until we're ready for full examination." Hyun felt his body moving again. The surface beneath him was rolling, some kind of cart or table. He kept his eyes closed, listening to the sounds around him. Doors opening, the hum of the engines, other aliens talking as they passed. The movement stopped. The air felt different here, colder. "Storage Unit 17 is prepared," said a new voice. "Excellent. Secure the specimen and activate the stasis field," Krell commanded. Hyun felt his arms and legs being fastened down. Metal clasps closed around his wrists and ankles. A band went across his chest. They were making sure he couldn't move, even if he woke up. "Field activated," said the new voice. "Good," said Krell. "I have high hopes for this specimen. Human biology has several unique features we haven't seen in other species. Their adaptability is remarkable. Do you think the Council will approve the full harvest of the planet?" asked one of the aliens. "Almost certainly," Krell replied. "Earth has many resources we need. The humans will make good research subjects, for a time, but eventually their world will serve a greater purpose for the Taylor Empire." "Harvest? Research subjects?" Hyun's mind raced. These aliens, these Taylor, were planning something terrible for Earth. He heard the aliens leave. A door closed. The room became quiet except for a low humming sound, probably the stasis field they mentioned. Hyun waited a few minutes to make sure they were gone. Then, carefully, he opened his eyes. He was in a large room filled with clear containers. Inside each container was a different creature. Some looked like animals from Earth, others were completely alien to him. All were still, frozen in place by the strange technology. His own container was open at the top. He could see the ceiling of the room covered in lights and strange symbols. The restraints holding him were made of a metal he didn't recognize, thin, but incredibly strong. As he looked around, Hyun noticed something important. The aliens had secured him as they would secure one of their own kind, but humans were different. Humans were stronger. He flexed his arm, testing the restraint. It was tight, but maybe not tight enough. The aliens had underestimated human strength. That would be their first mistake. Hyun knew he had to escape. Not just for himself, but for everyone on Earth. He needed to warn people about what was coming. His head started to feel heavy. The new dose of sedative was taking effect. He fought against it, but his eyes were closing against his will. As darkness took him again, one thought remained in his mind. They think they know what humans are capable of. They have no idea. He would show them. Soon. Hyun woke up slowly. His head hurt and his mouth felt dry. The sedative was wearing off, but not completely. He kept his eyes closed and listened. The room was quiet, except for the soft hum of machines. Good. No aliens around. He opened his eyes, just a little. The storage room looked the same. Clear containers filled with still creatures, lights on the ceiling, no Taylor aliens in sight. It was time to act. Hyun tested the restraints again. The metal bands were tight around his wrists and ankles. He pulled his right arm slowly, applying more and more pressure. The band didn't break, but he felt it stretch a tiny bit. These aliens were not used to human strength. He looked at the other containers in the room. Some held animals he recognized. A dog, several birds, even what looked like a tiger. Others held creatures he had never seen before. All were frozen in place by the stasis field. "I need to get out of here," Hyun whispered to himself. He focused, on his right wrist again. Taking a deep breath, he pulled hard, straining every muscle. The metal band stretched a bit more. He relaxed, then pulled again, even harder. His muscles burned with the effort. With a soft ping, the metal band broke. Hyun quickly freed his other hand, then his ankles and the band across his chest. He sat up slowly, watching for any sign that an alarm had been triggered. Nothing happened. The room stayed quiet. Standing on shaky legs, Hyun examined the container he had been in. It was like a clear box with one side open. A control panel with strange symbols was attached to the side. This must control the stasis field, he thought. Hyun looked around the room more carefully now. There were about 30 containers, each holding a different being. A door on the far wall was the only way in or out. No windows. The walls, floor, and ceiling were made of a smooth white material he didn't recognize. He moved to the door, careful not to make noise. It had no handle, just another control panel with alien symbols. Hyun studied it, trying to make sense of the strange shapes and colors. Think like an engineer, he told himself. The panel had several sections. One part had symbols that changed, color when he waved his hand near them. Another part had what looked like a screen showing the room behind him. Security camera, maybe. Hyun touched one of the symbols that glowed blue. Nothing happened. He tried another, a red triangle shape. The door made a soft clicking sound but stayed closed. Come on, he muttered. He tried a third symbol, a green circle. The door slid open with a quiet hiss. Hyun froze, expecting alarms or guards. Again, nothing happened. These aliens were overconfident. They never expected their specimen to wake up, let alone escape. Beyond the door was a hallway, curved like the inside of a tube. The walls glowed with a soft white light. No doors were visible in either direction. Hyun had to make a choice, left or right. He went right, moving slowly and staying close to the wall. The hallway curved gradually. After about 50 steps, Hyun saw another door. This one was larger than the first. He approached it carefully and examined the control panel. This panel was different. It had more symbols and a small screen showing, strange alien text scrolling by. Hyun touched the green circle symbol that had worked before. The door didn't open. Instead, a soft voice spoke in the clicking, high-pitched language of the Talar. Hyun couldn't understand the words, but he guessed it was asking for identification or a password. Not good, he said quietly. He needed another way. Looking up, Hyun noticed a section of the ceiling that looked different from the rest. It was a slightly different color with thin lines forming a square. An access panel, maybe? Hyun looked around for something to stand on. Finding nothing, he jumped, trying to reach the ceiling. It was too high. He needed at least another meter. Then he had an idea. Returning to the storage room, he went to his container and carefully moved it to the hallway and up to the larger door. The container was lighter than he expected. Climbing, on top of it, he could now reach the access panel. He pushed against the panel. It moved slightly. He pushed harder and the panel popped free, revealing a dark space above the ceiling. Hyun pulled himself up into the space. It was tight, but he could fit. He replaced the panel behind him. In the darkness, Hyun could see thin beams of light coming through small gaps in the ceiling panels. He crawled carefully, following the curve of the hallway above. As he moved, he began to hear voices, the tailors speaking their strange language. He stopped and looked through one of the gaps. Below him was a large room filled with aliens working at various stations with screens and control panels. This must be the control center of the ship, he thought. There were at least 10 tailor in the room. Some were sitting at stations. Others were moving around carrying objects Hyun didn't recognize. One tailor stood in the center giving orders. It was taller than the others and wore a different uniform with extra markings. Hyun recognized the voice. It was Krell, the chief researcher. Hyun watched as Krell moved to a large screen on the far wall. The screen showed an image of Earth. Krell pointed to different parts of the planet as he spoke. The other tailor nodded and made notes on their own smaller screens. They're planning the invasion, Hyun realized. The harvest they talked about earlier. He needed to stop them somehow. Continuing to crawl above the ceiling, Hyun passed over the control room and followed a different hallway. After a few minutes, he came to another access panel. Carefully, he pushed it open a little and looked down. This room was smaller and empty of aliens. It contained several strange machines and what looked like weapons on racks along one wall. The door to the room was closed. Hyun removed the panel and dropped down into the room. The weapons looked advanced, like nothing he had seen on Earth. Some were small enough to hold in one hand. Others were larger and mounted on stands. He examined one of the smaller weapons. It was lightweight, with a grip that would fit a tailor's thin hand. There was no trigger, just a smooth surface where a trigger would normally be. Probably activated by touch, Hyun guessed. He was about to pick up the weapon when the door to the room slid open. A tailor walked in, looking down at a screen in its hand. It took 2 steps before noticing Hyun. The alien froze, its huge black eyes widening in surprise. For a moment, neither moved. Then the tailor reached for something on its belt. An alarm or communication device, Hyun guessed. Hyun reacted instantly. He lunged forward and grabbed the alien's thin arm. The tailor was much weaker than he expected. It tried to pull away, but Hyun held firm. "I'm not going back to that container," Hyun said, even though he knew the alien couldn't understand him. The tailor made a high-pitched sound, a call for help. Hyun had to act quickly. He pushed the alien against the wall, holding it there with one arm. With his free hand, he grabbed the device from the tailor's belt. It was a small round object with symbols on its surface. Hyun pressed one of the symbols, hoping to turn it off. Instead, the device projected a holographic image in the air, a map of the ship. "That's useful," Hyun said. He studied the map quickly, trying to memorize the layout. The tailor struggled, again making more clicking sounds. Hyun knew he couldn't let the alien go. It would alert the others, but he didn't want to hurt it either. Looking around, Hyun spotted what looked like storage containers along one wall. He dragged the alien to the containers and, after a brief struggle, managed to push it inside one and close the lid. The container wasn't airtight. The alien could breathe, but it was secure. "Sorry about that," Hyun said to the container. "Nothing personal." With the map device in hand, Hyun went back to the weapon rack and selected one of the smaller weapons. He had no idea how to use it, but having it was better than nothing. Just then, an alarm began to sound throughout the ship. A voice spoke in the Talar language, repeating the same phrase over and over. They knew he had escaped. Hyun looked at the map again. He needed to find a way off this ship, or at least a way to contact Earth. And he needed to do it fast. The hunt was on. The alarm continued to sound as Hyun studied the map. The ship was huge, much bigger than he had thought. Most of the areas on the map were labeled with alien symbols he couldn't read, but some parts were clear enough. He could see the storage room where he had been kept, the control room he had passed over, and the weapons room he was in now. "I need to find a way out," Hyun said to himself. The map showed what looked like smaller ships attached to the main vessel. Escape pods, maybe? They were located on the lowest level, several sections away. Hyun put the map device in his pocket and gripped the alien weapon. The door to the weapons room slid open automatically as he approached it. He checked the hallway, empty for now, but he could hear the sounds of Taylor moving in the distance. Following the map, Hyun turned left and moved quickly down the curved hallway. He needed to find a way down to the lower levels. The map showed some kind of transport tube not far ahead. As he rounded a curve in the hallway, Hyun nearly ran into 2 Taylor coming the other way. They stopped, staring at him with their large black eyes. One of them reached for a device on its belt. Hyun raised the weapon, pointing it at the aliens. He didn't want to hurt them, but he needed to scare them. "Stay back," he said firmly. The Taylor spoke to each other in their clicking language. They didn't look very scared of him or the weapon. One of them took a step forward, holding up its 4 hands in what might have been a calming gesture. Hyun backed away slowly. "I said stay back." The alien approaching him spoke, making sounds that almost seemed like they were trying to copy human speech. "Who, man, stop! Danger!" Hyun's eyes widened in surprise. "You can speak my language?" "Little," the tailor replied. "You come, safe place." Hyun didn't trust them. "No, I'm leaving this ship." The second tailor touched something on the wall. A panel slid open, revealing a small room, some kind of closet or storage space. The first tailor pointed to the opening. "Hide. Others come." Kill who, man? Kill? That wasn't good. Hyun hesitated. Were these Taylor trying to help him or trap him? The sound of running feet came from around the corner. More Taylor were coming. Hyun made a quick decision and dove into the small room. The panel slid closed behind him, leaving him in total darkness. Hyun held his breath, listening. He could hear muffled voices outside, the two Taylor talking to others who had just arrived. Would they give him away? After a few moments, the voices faded. The panel slid open again, and one of the Taylor looked in at him. Come. Quick, it said. Hyun followed the two aliens down the hallway. They moved fast, checking around corners before continuing. They seemed to be avoiding the main passages. Who are you? Hyun asked quietly. Why are you helping me? The Tylar, who could speak a little human language, replied, I am Lim. This toll. We help all prisoners. Prisoners? So he wasn't the only one being held against his will. They reached a section of the ship that looked different from the rest. The walls here were darker, and the lighting was dimmer. Lim pressed a series of symbols on a wall panel, and a hidden door opened. Beyond the door was a large room filled with various equipment and containers. But what surprised Hyun most were the people, actual humans and other beings, moving around freely. What is this place? Hyun asked in amazement. Safe, Lim replied. Free zone. A human woman approached them. She was in her mid-30s with short black hair and looked Korean like Hyun. You're new, she said in Korean. I'm Mina. They just bring you aboard? Hyun nodded, relieved to hear his own language. Yes, I'm Hyun, from Seoul. What is this place? Who are all these people? Mina gestured around the room. Specimens who escaped like you. Some of us have been here for years. The Taylor took me 3 years ago. Some have been here much longer. Years? Hyun felt sick. How many humans have they taken? Hundreds, maybe thousands over time, Mina replied. Most are kept in stasis. They only wake us up when they need to run tests. But you escaped? Mina nodded. Some of the Taylor don't agree with what their leaders are doing. Lim and Toll are part of a small group that thinks all species should be free. They help us when they can. Hyun looked at the aliens with new respect. Thank you, he said to them. Lim made a gesture that might have been a bow. Earth people strong, smart, help us too. Mina led Hyun further into the room. There were about 20 beings in total. Most were human, but some were clearly from other worlds. Creatures with extra limbs, unusual skin colors, or features Hyun had never imagined. We've created a safe place here, Mina explained. The main Taylor don't know about it. We have our own food, water, and power systems. But it's not enough. We need to do more. More? Hyun asked. Mina's face grew serious. The Tyler aren't just collecting specimens for study. They're planning something much worse. She led him to a table where several people were gathered around, a display showing Earth. This is June, Mina said, introducing an older Korean man with gray hair. He's been here longest, nearly 20 years. He's learned their language and technology better than anyone. June nodded to Hyun. Welcome to the Resistance. Resistance? Hyun repeated. Against what exactly? June pointed to the display of Earth. The Taylor are a mining species. They travel the galaxy looking for resources. When they find a suitable planet, they harvest it, strip it of everything valuable. The native species are either collected as specimens or eliminated. Hyun felt cold. And Earth is next. Yes, June confirmed. They've been studying Earth for decades, taking samples, preparing. According to what we've learned, the full harvest is scheduled to begin in 3 months. 3 months? Hyun couldn't believe it. We have to warn people. We have to stop them. That's what we're trying to do, Mina said. But it's not easy. We've been working on a plan to access their communication system, to send a message to Earth. But we haven't managed it yet. Hyun took out the map device he had taken from the Taylor. Would this help? June's eyes widened as he took the device. Where did you get this? It's an officer's map, It shows everything on the ship. I took it from one of them, Hyun explained. I also have this. He showed them the weapon. June examined it. A stun weapon, very useful. He looked at Hyun with new interest. You've accomplished more in one day than many of us have in months. Maybe you're what we've been waiting for. Mina smiled for the first time. A fresh perspective. Someone who hasn't given up hope. I'll never give up, Hyun said firmly. Not when Earth is in danger. June activated the map and pointed to a section of the ship. This is the main communication array. If we can get to it, we might be able to send a warning to Earth, but it's heavily guarded. Hyun studied the map. What about this? He pointed to a smaller section near the array. That's a secondary control node, June said. Less guarded, but it doesn't have direct access to the communication systems. But it might have access to other systems, Hyun suggested. Security, power, life support. If we could cause problems in those areas, it might create a distraction. Mina looked at Hyun with respect. That could work. A distraction would draw guards away from the main array. Hyun nodded. In the military, we called it a diversionary tactic. Make noise in one place while you do your real work somewhere else. I've noticed something else about the tailor, Hyun continued. They're not used to things not going according to plan. When I escaped, they seemed confused, like they didn't know how to react to something unexpected. June smiled. You're right. The tailor mind works very logically. They struggle with chaos and unexpected events. It's why humans trouble them so much. We're unpredictable. Then let's be unpredictable, Hyun said. Let's create chaos. The three humans looked at each other, a new hope in their eyes. For the first time, they had a chance, a real chance to save Earth. When do we start? Hyun asked. Now, Mina replied. We start now. The plan was simple but risky. Hyun, Mina, and June would create 3 separate distractions in different parts of the ship. This would confuse the Talar and draw guards away from the main communication array. Then Lim and Toll would help them get to the array to send a message to Earth. Everyone clear on what to do? June asked. The group nodded. They had spent hours preparing, using materials from the hidden room to make simple but effective devices. Remember, Mina said, the Talar don't handle chaos well. The more confused they are, the better our chances. Hyun checked his homemade devices one last time. He had created small explosive charges using chemicals from the hidden room. They weren't strong enough to damage the ship seriously, but they would make noise and smoke, perfect for a distraction. It's time, June said, looking at a display that showed the ship's time cycle. The guard shift changes in 10 minutes. That's our window. Hyun took a deep breath. Let's do this, for Earth. The 3 humans left the hidden room through different exits. Lim and Toll would wait until the distractions began before moving to their positions. Hyun followed the map to his first target, a storage area near the ship's engine section. The hallways were mostly empty as he moved carefully through the ship. Most Taylor were at their workstations at this time in the ship's cycle. When he reached the storage area, Hyun quickly placed 3 of his devices in hidden spots. He set the timers for 5 minutes, then left the area and moved to his second target, a food processing section. In the food processing room, Hyun placed 2 more devices. The room was filled with strange machines and containers of liquids and powders. No Tyler were present, but several robotic arms worked sorting and mixing materials. Hyun set the timers on these devices for 4 minutes. He was about to leave when a door on the far side of the room opened. A tailor walked in carrying a container. It stopped when it saw Hyun. For a moment, neither moved. Then the tailor reached for a device on its belt, an alarm. Hyun reacted quickly. He raised his stun weapon and fired. A beam of blue light hit the tailor, who froze in place for a second before falling to the floor. Sorry, Hyun said, checking that the alien was only stunned, not hurt. He dragged the tailor to a corner and placed it behind some containers where it wouldn't be found right away. He left the food processing room and headed for his third and final target, a section of hallway near the control room. This was the riskiest part, as there would likely be more tailor in this area. As Hyun approached, He heard a loud boom from the direction of the engine section. His first devices had activated. Perfect timing. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Taylor voices called out in their clicking language. The hallway ahead of Hyun suddenly filled with aliens rushing toward the source of the explosion. In the confusion, Hyun placed his last two devices along the wall of the hallway. He set the timers for just 2 minutes, then moved away quickly. Heading toward the communication array as planned, another explosion sounded, this one from the food processing room. More alarms, more confusion. Hyun smiled to himself. The plan was working. He reached a junction in the hallway where he was supposed to meet Lim. The tailor was waiting, looking nervous, all 4 of its arms moving restlessly. Many guards, Lim said in his limited human language, all running, confused. Good, Hyun replied. Where's Tall? With Mina. At other door. They moved together down a narrow service passage that Lim opened with his access code. This would take them to the back entrance of the communication array. As they reached the end of the passage, Hyun's last devices exploded. The entire ship seemed to shake with the combined effects of all the distractions. Lim opened the final door, and they entered the communication array from behind. The room was large, filled with control panels and screens. A few Taylor were still at their stations, trying to understand what was happening on the ship. From another door, Mina and Toll entered. A moment later, June appeared from a third entrance. They had all made it. June moved swiftly to one of the control panels and began working. He had learned how to operate Taylor technology during his long captivity. Watch the doors, June said. I need 3 minutes. Hyun and Mina positioned themselves. At 2 of the doors, weapons ready. Lim and Tall stood at the main entrance. A minute passed. Then the main door slid open and 5 Taylor guards rushed in carrying weapons. When they saw the humans and their fellow Taylor, they stopped in surprise. Traitors, one of the guards said in the Taylor language. June translated for Hyun, and Mina Lim stepped forward. No more prisoners, he said in both languages. All be free. The lead guard raised his weapon. Hyun fired first, stunning the alien. The other guards fired back. Energy beams hit the walls and control panels around them. Mina stunned another guard. Toll pushed a third to the ground. It was chaos, exactly what they wanted. 1 more minute, June called from the control panel. More Taylor were coming. Hyun could hear them in the hallway. He and Mina kept firing, keeping the entrance clear as best they could. Then a new voice spoke, a loud, commanding voice that made the guards stop firing. Enough! A tall Taylor entered the room. It wore an elaborate uniform with many symbols. Hyun recognized it from the control room. Chief Researcher Krell. What is the meaning of this? Krell demanded, looking at Lim and Toll. Why do you help these specimens? Lim stood tall, all 4 arms at his sides. They not specimens, they people, like us. Krell laughed, a strange, clicking sound. They are primitive creatures, resources for the greater good of the Taylor Empire. Done. June shouted. He pressed a final control and the large screen in the center of the room lit up. It showed Earth, beautiful in blue. What have you done? Krell demanded. June smiled. Sent a message, a warning, and everything we know about your ships, your weapons, your weaknesses. Impossible. Krell moved toward the control panel, but Hyun stepped in his way. It's done, Hyun said. Earth knows you're coming now. They'll be ready. Krell's large eyes narrowed. It doesn't matter. Your primitive weapons are no match for our technology. Earth will be harvested as planned. I wouldn't be so sure, Mina said. Humans are good at preparing for a fight when we know it's coming, and we're good at improvising, Hyun added. Something you Taylor don't understand. Krell studied Hyun with curious eyes. You, the new specimen? You caused all this trouble in just 1 day? Remarkable. That's humans for you, Hyun replied. We don't give up easily. I see that now, Krell said. Perhaps we have underestimated your species. More guards were entering the room, surrounding the humans and their Taylor allies. They were outnumbered now with no way to escape. What happens to us? Mina asked. Krell made a gesture and the guards lowered their weapons. You have created quite a problem for me. The Council will be very interested in how a few primitive beings managed to cause so much trouble on our most advanced ship. June translated this for Hyun and Mina. Tell him we're not done causing trouble, Hyun said. June smiled and relayed the message to Krell, too. The chief researcher made that strange laughing sound again. I believe you, which is why I have a proposal. What kind of proposal? June asked, suspicious. A conversation, Krell replied. Between equals. Perhaps there is more to learn from humans than we realized. Perhaps there is a solution that doesn't require harvesting Earth. Hyun didn't fully trust the alien, but he saw an opportunity. We're listening. Krell looked at each of them in turn. You have shown resourcefulness, courage, and unexpected abilities, the mark of an advanced species despite your primitive technology. Come with me to the council chamber. Show them what you have shown me today. The guard stepped back, creating a path to the door. Is this a trick? Mina whispered. Maybe, Hyun replied quietly. But it's also a chance to talk instead of fight, to find a peaceful solution. June nodded. And if it is a trick, we'll just have to cause more chaos. Hyun smiled. That's what humans do best. With their heads held high, the three humans followed Krell out of the room. They had already accomplished more than they had hoped, warning Earth about the coming danger. Now they had a chance to do even more. The confrontation was over. The negotiation was about to begin. The council chamber was large and round. 7 tailors sat in high seats along one curved wall. They wore elaborate uniforms with many symbols, showing their high rank. The room was silent as Hyun, Mina, and June entered with Krell. Hyun looked around carefully. There were guards at every door. The ceiling was high and dome-shaped with strange lights that made patterns on the floor. In the center of the room was a round platform. Krell led them to the platform and spoke to the council in the Taylor language. June listened closely, translating quietly for Hyun and Mina. Chief Researcher Krell is explaining what happened, June whispered. He's telling them about our escape, the message we sent to Earth, and how we created chaos on the ship. The council members clicked and chirped in their strange language. Some looked angry, others seemed curious. The tallest council member spoke. June translated. He's asking how primitive beings like us managed to do all this. He doesn't believe it's possible, real. Responded, pointing at Hyun several times as he spoke. Krell is telling them that humans are more dangerous than they thought, June continued. He says we are unpredictable and resourceful in ways the Taylor can't understand. The council members talked among themselves. Then the tall one spoke directly to the humans. Can you understand me? He asked in heavily accented but clear English. Hyun was surprised. Yes, he replied. I am High Counselor Vex. You have created much trouble on our ship. Why? Hyun stepped forward. You are planning to attack our planet, to harvest it. We had to warn our people. Vex's large eyes blinked slowly. Your planet has resources we need. This is the way of the universe. The strong take from the weak. Humans are not weak, Hyun said firmly. We may not have your technology, but we are strong in other ways. So we have seen, Vex replied. No species has ever escaped from our containment units before. No species has ever sent unauthorized communications from our ships. You are unusual. Another council member spoke up, this one in the Taylor language. June translated. She's saying they should abandon the plan to harvest Earth, that humans would be too difficult to control. A third council member disagreed, speaking angrily and pointing at the humans. June didn't need to translate, the meaning was clear. This one wanted to continue with the original plan. The council began to argue among themselves. Krell stood silently, watching. Hyun leaned close to Mina and June. They're divided, he whispered. This is our chance. What are you thinking? Mina asked. We need to convince them that attacking Earth would be bad for them, not just for us. Hyun stepped forward again, raising his hand to get attention. The council fell silent. "High Counselor Vex," Hyun said, "you've seen what 3 humans can do on your ship. Imagine what billions of humans would do if you attack our planet." "Your weapons are primitive," Vex replied. "You cannot harm our ships." "Not yet," Hyun admitted. "But humans learn quickly. The message we sent included details about your technology. Our scientists are studying it right now. And humans are very good at turning new knowledge into weapons." This wasn't entirely true. Hyun had no idea if the message had even reached Earth, but the tailor didn't know that. "More importantly," Hyun continued, "humans never give up. Even if you win the first battle or the second, we would keep fighting for years, for decades. Is that what you want? An endless war that costs you ships and lives?" The council members looked at each other. They hadn't expected this kind of argument. Vex leaned forward. "What do you propose instead?" Hyun hadn't expected this question. He looked at Mina and June for help. Mina stepped forward. "Trade," she said simply. "Earth has resources you need, but we can share them through trade, not war. It would be better for both our peoples." A council member spoke and June translated. "He's asking what we have that they would want besides our planet's natural resources." "Knowledge," June replied in the Talar language. "Creativity, new ideas. Humans think differently from Talar. We solve problems in ways you don't expect. This could be valuable to you." The council talked among themselves again. Hyun could see they were considering the idea. But then a new alarm sounded throughout the ship. A tailor officer rushed into the chamber and spoke urgently to the council. The council members looked shocked. "What's happening?" Hyun asked June. June listened to the conversation, his eyes widening. "They've detected ships approaching. Many ships, coming from Earth." "That's impossible," Mina said. "Earth doesn't have ships that could get here so quickly." "They're not from Earth," June explained. "They're from a place called Nexus 7. Apparently it's a trading outpost near our solar system. They received our distress signal and sent help." Hyun couldn't believe their luck. "We have allies?" "It seems so," June said. "The message we sent reached farther than we thought." The council was now in an uproar. Some members were calling for battle stations, others for retreat. Vex raised his hands for silence. When the room quieted, he looked at the humans with new respect. "It seems you have powerful friends," he said. "We didn't know they existed," Hyun admitted honestly. "But now they're here to help us." Vex spoke to the council again, his voice firm and commanding. After a brief discussion, the council appeared to reach a decision. "We will withdraw from your solar system," Vex announced, "and we will consider your proposal of trade rather than conquest. The Taylor Empire has existed for 10,000 years by making wise choices. Fighting a war on 2 fronts, against humans and your new allies, would not be wise." Hyun, Mina, and June looked at each other in amazement. They had done it. They had saved Earth. "What about the other prisoners?" Mina asked. "The ones you've taken from Earth and other planets?" Vex hesitated, then nodded. "They will be returned, all of them. And you'll never try to harvest Earth again?" Hyun pressed. "The Taylor Council gives its word," Vex replied. "Your world is now classified as a protected planet. No harvesting will be attempted." It was more than they had hoped for. Hyun felt a wave of relief wash over him. They had won. 3 days later, Hyun stood in a different ship, one from Nexus 7. It was smaller than the Taylor vessel but more comfortable for humans. Through a large window he could see Earth growing larger as they approached. Mina stood beside him, smiling. "I never thought I'd see it again," she said softly. "Home," Hyun agreed. June joined them at the window. "The Nexus Council is establishing formal relations with Earth governments right now. They're explaining about the wider universe, the other species, the trading networks." "Everything is going to change," Mina said. Hyun nodded. "For the better, I think. Earth isn't alone anymore. We have allies, trading partners. And the Taylor will be watching us," June added. "They're still not sure what to make of humans." Hyun smiled. "Good. Let them wonder. Let them worry a little. The ship began its descent into Earth's atmosphere. Soon they would be on the ground, telling their story to the world. What will you do now? Mina asked Hyun. He looked out at the blue planet below them, the home he had helped save. First, I'm going to see my family. Tell them I'm okay. He paused. After that, I think I want to help prepare Earth for its new role in the universe. We have a lot to learn, but also a lot to offer. The Taylor won't be the last aliens to underestimate humans, June said with a smile. No, Hyun agreed. But they might be the last to make that mistake and live to tell about it. As the ship descended toward Seoul, Hyun watched his city come into view. It looked exactly the same as when he had left it, but everything was different now. The universe was bigger, more dangerous, but also full of new possibilities. The aliens had kidnapped a human, but they got much more than they bargained for. They got a first look at what humans were truly capable of, and now the whole universe would know as well. Earth was ready for its next chapter, and so was Hyun.